What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stack. Welcome back if you've been here before. I'm Neon Mushroom, and today we have some more EDH Commander gameplay for you guys. Really quick before we get into it, I do just want to selfishly, shamelessly self-promote a video we just had come out with us today. It came out today, but you're not supposed to know that because we don't pre-record. We wouldn't do that. But the 8th, this last Tuesday, Calvin dropped a video that I'm very, very happy with. He had it in the tank for a while, but I think it turned out really well. And we're going to be changing our editing style up a little bit coming up here in the near future. So if that's something you're interested in seeing come to fruition, check that video out, because you're going to be seeing more of Calvin, which I'm excited for, and you guys should be excited for as well. Anyway, today you're stuck with me. So everything I needed to say before we start the video, the actual gameplay part of the video, has been said, so let's go ahead and take a look at who's playing, what decks they've decided to play, the opening hands they've decided on keeping, as well as our typical upkeep stuff.
As always, if you like this show or any of our other shows on YouTube, liking, sharing, and subscribing helps us out immensely. If you like our content and don't mind that extra mile, you can always support us over on Patreon, over at patreon.com/MTGTheStack.
Just like you, Ryan Bauer, first of all, you're the patron shout-out, but that's just a catalyst. You have to put Finale of Devastation in your green decks that want to tutor for creatures to enable infinite mana combos. We'll talk about this more in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, I'm using this as a way to promote our patron within the patron shout-out part of the video. Yeah.
Comment down below any of your thoughts and feelings, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Alright, first up there's me, and I'll be playing my Galazeth Stacks Breach build. This is a deck I'll be retiring shortly because I have some other cEDH options I want to look into, but for now this is what we're playing today, and this deck is exactly what it looks like. It's a deck that wants to win the game eventually by utilizing the old school combo of Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Brain Freeze. And in order to get there, we're going to use Galazeth to break parity on a bunch of really cool stacks pieces, like Trinisphere, Storage Matrix, Winter Orb, and Static Orb, in order to break parity on the tempo of the game, and eventually win when the time is right. I'll be keeping a 7-card hand, including Swan Song, Gitaxian Probe, Trinisphere, Mox Diamond, a Flooded Strand, Basic Island, and a Basic Mountain. Then we have Ajdin playing Korvold Demon Chain, and this is going to be a food chain deck. The point of the deck is to utilize Korvold in the mid-game as both a combo outlet and a way to maintain some type of card advantage, and Korvold can even be used as a beater in a pinch, but at the end of the day, this is just a food chain deck that has Razaketh Lions, and it tries to win as quickly as possible. Ajdin was also lucky enough to be keeping a 7-card hand, including Final Fortune, Elves of Deep Shadow, Opposition Agent, Mana Crypt, Crop Rotation, Windswept Heath, and a basic Swamp. After that we have Calvin playing Tymna, Jeska, Mad Farm, and this is another deck you probably won't be seeing as much of, as he's found a couple other decks he also wants to be trying out in cEDH. However, this deck's very simple. It wants to use Tymna to farm as many cards as possible in order to throw together some type of combo utilizing infinite mana, because if you have infinite red, Jeska, Thrice Reborn can just kill all of your opponents. With Calvin, that makes 3 of us keeping 7-card hands, and his includes a Skirk Prospector, Mox Opal, Jeweled Lotus, Infernal Plunge, a Sacred Foundry, a Scrubland, and a Marsh Flats. Last but not least, we have Guy Scott playing Pako's Modern Life, and this is going to be a carbon copy of the Pako's Modern Life deck on the cEDH deck database. The idea of this deck is to be an extremely disruptive mid-range deck that wants to play Pako as early as possible, utilizing fast mana, take some of the pieces from his opponent's libraries, then play Haldan and start to deploy them. The deck also plays a ton of taking extra turn spells and a bunch of disruptive spells in order to slow its opponent's game plans down. Guy sucks at Magic because he had to mulligan down to 6 cards, and that's going to be a Chrome Mox, Mystic Remora, Mana Vault, a Training Center, Mystic Sanctuary, Verdant Catacombs, and he had to bottom a copy of Exotic Orchard.
It's definitely real card game time. Fuck.
Very, very smooth.
I am the smoothest. I'm just gonna take that again, man.
Whatever.
1, 2,
Calvin's
3.
gonna go first.
Flip.
Anyways. You motherfucker.
Ajdin 1 card game, so he's going to start by drawing his card for turn. He'll play a basic Swamp as his land for turn, play a Mana Crypt right after that, and with nothing else, just going to pass the turn to me.
I'm gonna pay 2 life and get Pro Biden.
Yeah.
Nice. You're gonna love this shit.
You're gonna hate me right now. No! Alright, here you go. Draw a card. Stop it.
After peeking at Ajdin's hand and drawing a card, I'll play an island as my land for turn, then I'll play a Mana Crypt of my own, and after that, I'll play a Mox Diamond. to the Mox Diamond, I'm going to go ahead and discard a basic island, and then I'm going to tap for 3 mana. That's going to be to cast Trinisphere. Ajdin has a response because everything that doesn't cost at least 3 now costs 3 if this resolves. So he's going to cast Vampiric Tutor. I do have a response to the Tutor. I'm going to tap my Mox Diamond and cast Swan Song. That's going to counter the Tutor. Ajdin's going to make a 2/2 bird, and then Trinisphere will enter the battlefield. After that, I'll pass the turn to Calvin, who plays a Marsh Flats as his land for turn. He's going to immediately crack it, dropping to 39, and he's going to search up a Badlands. Badlands comes into play. After that, he's just going to pass the turn to Guy. Guy will draw his card for turn, then he's going to play Verdant Catacombs as his land for turn. After that, he'll fetch, dropping down to 39, and he's going to get a Taiga into play. After that point, he's just going to pass the turn to Ajdin, who will untap, flip for Mana Crypt. This time around, he's going to be losing the flip, drop to 37. Then he'll head into combat and pressure the other Naws player, which is Calvin. Calvin's going to take the 2, dropping to 37. Then after that, Ajdin's going to play Windswept Heath as his land for turn. Then he's going to crack, dropping down to 36. And he's going to search his library for a Taiga of his own. After that, Ajdin's going to tap for 3 mana using his Mana Crypt. And he's going to cast Survival of the Fittest, and it does cost 3 because I have a Trinisphere. After that, he's out of action, so he passes the turn to me, where I'll untap, trigger my Mana Crypt. I'm going to flip, and this time around I lose as well. I'll draw my card for turn, then I'm going to play a Flooded Strand as my land for turn. I'm going to fetch, drop to 34, and get a Volcanic Island into play. After that, I'm going to tap for 3 mana, and I'm going to cast another Stax piece. This time I want to play a Blood Moon. This does resolve, so with nothing else, I'm just going to pass the turn to Calvin, who draws his card for turn. He's going to play a Sacred Foundry. It's just a mountain, so he doesn't have to shock it into play, and he'll pass to Guy. The guy's going to draw, play a weird mountain that's named Tropical Island, and just pass the turn to Ajdin, who triggers Mana Crypt, flips, loses the flip, draws his card for turn, heads to combat, and then attacks me for 2. After that, I'm just going to pass the turn to me, so I'll untap, flip for the Crypt, and this time I'm going to win the flip, taking no damage, and I'll draw my card for turn. In my first main phase, I'll tap for 4 mana to cast my commander, Galazeth Prismari. Galazeth resolves, so I get a treasure token as well, and with no further actions, I'll just pass the turn to Calvin. Calvin's going to draw, play a Scrubland as his land for turn, and then I'll tap out for 3 to cast a Dockside Extortionist, which costs 1 more thanks to my Trinisphere. This is going to wind up resolving, so he's going to make a total of 7 treasures. The first thing he's going to do with his 7 treasures is spend 3 of them to cast Fragmentize, targeting my Trinisphere. It does cost 3 because of the Trinisphere, and it's going to wind up resolving. That puts the Trinisphere in the bin, meaning now he can play Mox Opal without paying 3 for it, and I'll follow it up with a Jeweled Lotus. After that, he's going to tap his Opal for white, and then he's going to crack his Jeweled Lotus for 3 black, and he's going to use it to cast one of his commanders, Tymna the Weaver. Once that resolves, he's going to crack another treasure, this time for red, and that's going to be so he can cast Skirk Prospector. With nothing else, Calvin's just going to pass the turn back to Guy. Guy's going to draw his card for turn. In his first main phase, he'll play Training Center as his land for turn, which is a mountain thanks to the Blood Moon. Then he's going to play a Chromox, and he's going to exile a Force of Vigor to it, so it taps for green. After that, he's going to tap for 1, and he's going to play a Mana Vault. This means he now has enough mana to tap for a total of 5 using the Mana Vault to cast his main commander, Pako Arcane Retriever. Pako does have haste, so he's going to go to combat, and turn Pako sideways at Ajdin. Before Ajdin can even go to blocks, we trigger Pako. We're actually going to reveal a total of 4 lands, so Pako gets 4 +1/+1 counters, and Ajdin takes the damage, going to 7 commander damage. After that, we try to pass to Ajdin, but before we can, he's going to cast Plunge into Darkness, and he's going to choose to pay 20 life. That's going to let him look at the top 20 cards of his library and pick 1 to go to his hand. He's going to wind up choosing Demonic Tutor. And on the plus side, the rest get exiled, which means if there was a squee, he would be able to use it. After that, we're going to go to his turn, where he triggers Mana Crypt, doesn't take 3, draws his card for turn, then he's going to tap for 3 mana, and he's going to cast Demonic Tutor with 1 colorless floating. He's going to search his library for a card, and in this case, he wants to get a copy of Dockside Extortionist. He puts Dockside in his hand, then with the floating mana and the Taiga, he's going to tap for 2 and cast Dockside. In response to the Dockside, I'm going to sacrifice my treasure, and Calvin's going to sacrifice all 3 of his. That way when Dockside comes in, it triggers and makes Ajdin a total of 6 treasures. Ajdin will then use 5 of those treasures to play his commander, Korvold Fae-Cursed King. When it comes into play, he's going to sacrifice his Mana Crypt and draw a card. After that, Ajdin's going to play a Lotus Petal, and he's immediately going to crack the Lotus Petal. He's going to make a green mana with it. But Korvold sees this happen, and Ajdin did sacrifice that permanent, so Ajdin's going to put a +1/+1 counter on his commander and draw a card. After that, he's going to play Arid Mesa as his land for turn, and he's going to crack his treasure. This time he wants to make a red, dead, but Korvold saw that, so Ajdin's going to put a counter on him, and he's going to draw yet another card. Once all that's resolved, he's going to tap his Arid Mesa for red because it's a mountain still, and then he's going to use some of that floating mana to cast Final Fortune. That's going to cause him to have another turn after this one, but if he fails to win in that turn, he will automatically lose the game. Then he's going to use that last floating green, and he's going to activate his Survival of the Fittest, discarding an Elves of Deep Shadow, and he'll search his library for a Squee the Immortal. After adding Squee to his hand, Ajdin wants to go to combat, and he's going to turn his bird sideways at Guy. Guy can't block it, so he drops to 37. Then Ajdin's going to go to his next turn. He'll untap, draw his card for turn, and then he's going to go straight to combat and attack Calvin with Korvold. That's going to trigger Korvold. He'll sacrifice his Dockside Extortionist, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and draw a card. After damage, he goes to his second main phase and casts Necromancy. That's going to reanimate a card from his graveyard. In this case, he wants to get another Dockside Extortionist, and it is once again going to make him 6 treasures. After that, he's going to start to sacrifice his treasures to make mana. While he's doing this, the Korvold sees all of that happen, so he's going to put +1/+1 counters on his Korvold, and he's going to draw cards equal to the number of treasures that he sacrificed. He winds up making a total of 3 green mana, 3 red mana. Korvold gets 6 +1/+1 counters, and he does draw 6 cards. Once he's finished doing that, he's going to play his land for turn. In this case, he wants to play a basic Swamp. He's then going to tap that Swamp for black, and he's going to use one of his floating red mana, and this is going to be so he can cast a Diabolic Intent. That's going to have him sacrificing his Dockside Extortionist, which does trigger Korvold, which gets a counter, and he draws a card. Then the intent's going to resolve, so Ajdin gets to tutor, and he's going to go get a copy of Food Chain. Now that he has his main combo enabler, he's going to use all 3 of his floating green mana and cast the Food Chain. This resolves, so he's going to exile his Korvold to the Food Chain. He's going to rezone that into the command zone, and then after that point, he's going to play Squee out of exile using some of that mana. Now most of you have probably caught on to what's about to happen, but if you're new to this, I'll explain it. He's going to start exiling his Squee to his Food Chain to make a ton of mana. You can cast Squee out of exile so you can keep repeating this, so what he does is he makes an arbitrarily high amount of green, red, and black mana. After that, he can cast his Korvold from the command zone, and then start to exile his Korvold to the Food Chain, and then sacrifice the Squee to the Korvold to draw his deck and maintain his arbitrarily high amount of mana. After that, he'll play a Mox Diamond, discarding a land, and he'll use his Diamond and one of his floating red mana that doesn't need to be used on creatures to cast Animate Dead. Animate Dead resolves, and clearly he's going to reanimate Dockside Extortionist, making him 6 treasures, and he'll drop a Temur Sabertooth. After that, he's going to exile his Korvold to the Food Chain because he does not want Korvold around for what's about to happen, because it does involve sacrificing permanents, and if Korvold sees that, Ajdin's going to lose the game because it wants him to draw a card, and he won't be able to. After this, Ajdin's going to use some of his arbitrarily high amount of creature mana. He's going to spend black, red, and a colorless, and he's going to cast a Mayhem Devil. This is very bad news for us because now he can just bounce his Dockside Extortionist with Temur Sabertooth and then continue to redeploy the Dockside Extortionist with some of his arbitrarily high creature mana or treasures, and then his Mayhem Devil is going to see him sacrifice a ton of treasures, an arbitrarily high amount, which is going to drain us all to 0, making Ajdin the winner of today's game. I don't know if this is the first or the second or the third Demon Chain win we've seen on our cEDH gameplay content. I probably should have iterated that in the intro. The thumbnail iterated it, but this is cEDH we're playing today. Ajdin won. Let's talk about how the game went, and there's really no particular order I feel the need to go through this on. And this game was recorded a bit ago. Little caveat, I had a cold last week. This video was supposed to drop an entire week before today, and you're supposed to see like 2 more videos last week. But because of me having a cold and Calvin having life stresses, last week was barren for uploads, so I apologize to any of you who are waiting. However, go check out Rebound. That's been seeing uploads like every day because I don't have to voice those over. Pretty soon, hopefully, I won't have to voice anything over. Anyway, let's see if I can remember how this game went based on absolutely nothing. All I remember is that Demon Chain won the game, and then, oh yeah, I was playing Galazeth Prismari, and I had a really good opening. So we'll start with that. I was able to stack out the game fairly efficiently. I was able to go Trinisphere, and Ajdin did attempt to Vampiric Tutor. The reason, if anyone's wondering why I Swansong the Vampiric Tutor instead of Swansonging the thing the Vampiric Tutor went to go get, is because with Trinisphere in play, Ajdin could have gone to go get something that, like, he would have been able to play it into 0 interaction, depending on how the game went, because my Trinisphere does hold me down until I can get my own Galazeth into play, so I can't use my free interactive spells like Force of Will, Force of Negation, Pact of Negation, Fierce Guardianship, things like that. I can't actually use those until we're able to tap down our own Trinisphere at will. So other than that, my deck didn't do a whole ton. Like, I blood mooned. I did the stack stuff. I was never able to wrap up the game, and that's because I did win at a backbreaking turn 4.5, which is his turn 5, but like we skipped ahead because he took an extra turn with Final Fortune. We'll get to that in a moment if I remember to. Then there was Calvin, who did the farm thing. You know, he was able to land his Tymna. The Dockside Extortionist helped him get through the blood moon quite a bit. He was able to, what was the name of that? I think Fragmentize was the way he removed the Trinisphere, and that opened him up to go like Jeweled Lotus, Mox Opal, Jam Tymna, get a Skirk Prospector down, start farming, but it was a little too late. At that point, I already had access to enough pieces. This, unfortunately, was a game about Dockside Extortionist, and when you're playing cEDH in today's modern super turbo NOS heavy meta, it's going to be all about Dockside Extortionist. I'm interested to see if there would be any demand for like trying to play cEDH with some constraints, which I know like kind of defeats the purpose and the soul of the way that you play EDH when you're playing cEDH, but it's content, so maybe you guys are interested. I have no clue. Let me know. Comments below. We have them. You use them. Usually they're slanderous. Today, let's be productive. Just kidding. Most of you guys are awesome and supportive. Thank you. But yeah, Calvin was never able to seal the deal, unfortunately. So we'll move along to Guy, who is playing Pako's Modern Life. This is a deck that was ripped straight off of the cEDH deck database. It is a disruptive mid-range deck, and it does very well when it can rush out its Pako on turn 2 or 3. He was able to play Pako fairly quickly, even through the Blood Moon and Stacks effects, thanks to his Mana Crypt, or his Mana Vault being cast post Fragmentize, after the Trinisphere was dealt with. Unfortunately, as soon as he got his Pako into play and got all those lands, which did make it a 7-power creature, Ajdin was able to do the thing that he did, which is, now we're going to talk about the winner. Demon Chain. He cast Plunge into Darkness, and he got a Demonic Tutor. I don't even remember exactly what he tutored for. It was probably like a Reanimate spell or the Dockside itself. All I can tell you for sure is after Ajdin Docksided enough times, even with my Blood Moon in play, he was able to string together any type of combo with Food Chain, because he was able to tutor for the Food Chain. And for those of you who are wondering how the Tymna Sabertooth Dockside Extortionist combo works, and how the Food Chain, Dockside Food Chain, what's that other card? The red one, Squee the Immortal loop works is Food Chain always makes one more creature mana than the CMC of the creature that you exiled at the Food Chain. You can cast Squee out of exile, and you can make that mana whatever color. So as soon as you have Food Chain and Squee, you can go, I'm going to make 48,000 red, black, and green. And now you can cast your commander a bunch of times, but you can also cast the Squee. So you play your Squee out of exile, play your commander, sack the Squee to it, draw a card, then redeploy the Squee, and then but maybe you exile your Korvold first, that way you redeploy the Squee and then play your Korvold. You can do this ad nauseum until you have your whole deck. The one thing I thought that was very interesting is that deck can kill itself if you're an inexperienced pilot. And if you try to say, draw your whole deck, but then keep going with Korvold, Korvold will kill you. He's watching every time you sacrifice anything, and he will force you to draw a card. And if you can't, oops, game state checks and you lose. But he removed his Korvold, put a Mayhem Devil in play, and if you have a Tymna Sabertooth and a positive treasure production based on the board with your Dockside Extortionist, well, you can, and not even that he needed that because he already had infinite creature mana, but it doesn't matter how he does it because he just makes arbitrarily high treasures with Dockside by, he makes 5, even if you don't have infinite creature mana, you just make 5 treasures, use 2 to bounce it, now you have 3 left, use 2 more to play it, now you still have 1 but you make 5 more, you're positive on treasures. Now all I had to do was play his Mayhem Devil, stack all of his treasures, and our life totals are finite, it turns out. And even though he can't make infinite treasures, he can make enough treasures to deplete whatever our life totals are, because that's why we use the term arbitrarily high in Magic the Gathering, specifically EDH. It doesn't come up in Standard as much, or Modern, but it does come up. Anyway, I'm digressing. That's all I have for you guys today. Hope you're looking forward to some stuff in the near future. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check out MTG The Stack Rebound. We re-upload our individual games from our 4 or 5 hour live streams. We usually play anywhere between 4 and 6 games on those live streams. And the only one that gets the thumbnail is the first game, because it's really hard to like show you guys every single game that was played. We're probably going to find a way to sort that out in the description. We're getting there. We are getting there. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.